Now everybody from the 865, put your Fulton Falcon hands up if you allow. Now everybody from the 865, put your Fulton Falcon hands up. What? What? All right, let's do some math. Okay, so today's goal is to perform rotations on images clockwise and counterclockwise, 90, 180, and 270 degrees. And also be able to graph the new image on the coordinate plane whenever you do those. Okay, so we're going to finish these notes up today on rotations and then either do a paper worksheet or iExcel. I'm going to give you guys an option instead of just making you do iExcel or making you do a worksheet. So I'll let you guys choose, and one of them will be for a grade either way. Okay, so that's what we're going to be working on. All right, so rotation, again, is turning a figure around a fixed point. Okay, so there's two ways we talked about being able to turn objects. All right, we've got clockwise and counterclockwise. Okay, those are the two directions. Okay, so when we're doing rotations, you got to understand what are the two D's of rotations. All right, one is the direction, which just is clockwise or counterclockwise, and then the second is the degree. So not just which way are we turning it, but how much are we turning it. Okay, so which direction and how much. So those are the two big things to remember about rotations. Okay, so let's review a little bit about the quadrants, okay, on a coordinate plane. So you've got your first quadrant right here, and in your first quadrant, okay, you need to what we need to remember to do the problems today is the signs on our x coordinates and y coordinates, okay? So in the first quadrant, the x's are positive, and the y's are also positive. Okay, so up here, it's positive, positive. When you go over to the second quadrant, okay, in this one, your x's are negative, and the y's are still positive. Okay, so this is important to remember. And then down here in the third quadrant, you've got negative x's and negative y's. And in the fourth quadrant, that's kind of bad. In the fourth quadrant, you've got positive x's again, but now you have negative y's. So those are the four situations that are going to come up depending on which quadrant you're in. So after rotation has been performed, is the image going to be similar or congruent to the pre-image? So that's one thing just to think about, you know, is it going to be is it going to be similar or is it going to be congruent to the pre-image after you rotate it? So I'll give you guys some time to think about that and we'll discuss. You guys knew that it was going to be congruent because it's going to have the same size and shape, both, okay? Similar is when it's got the same shape but it's smaller or larger. Okay, congruent is when it's exactly the same size and shape. So rotating it, you know, just spinning it around doesn't change the size or the shape of the image. All right, so let's cruise on. Okay, so here's the big thing to remember. Right? This is like big idea of how to do these. Okay, so you're going to switch the x and y coordinates and check the quadrant that you're in. All right, so we remember this quadrant. Our signs are positive, positive. This one, x is positive, y is negative. In this one, they're both negative. And then in this one, x is positive and y is negative. So we got to remember that. All right, so it says to rotate triangle ABC 90 degrees clockwise and label triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. All right, so essentially what we're doing is trying to figure out if to do this rotation, where am I going to put this new triangle in? Okay, so if I go 90 degrees counterclockwise, okay, 90 degrees counterclockwise, that's going in this direction into this quadrant. So whenever I do that, you're going to follow this rule right here. Okay, so switch the x and y coordinates. So to write A, I'm going to switch the x and y coordinates. Well, A is the point 1, 2, 3, 4. A is 1, 4. So A prime is going to be the point 4, 1. So I'm going to switch the numbers. So I'm going to do 4, 1. Okay, because my rule says to switch the x and y coordinates, and it started off as the point 1, 4. So A was 1, 4, and it's going to change to A prime. But the thing that you need to remember is the signs. Okay, so you switch the x and y's, which is what we did, but now you got to check the signs in that quadrant. So this quadrant that I'm going to be in now, the x's have to be positive, so I'm going to leave the 4 positive, but the y coordinate has to be negative. So I need to make this a -1.
So my new coordinate for A prime is going to be the point 4. What did I do up here? What am I thinking? I knew I did that backwards. Okay, so my fault, guys. The x's are negative and the y's are positive. So right here, all kinds of messed up. Hope I haven't confused you. Alright, so we're still going to switch it to 4 and 1. So those still swap, but the x's are now negative. Sorry about that. And the y's stay positive. So the point is negative 4, positive 1. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, positive 1. So that's going to be my A prime. Alright, is this point right here. Same thing with B. So B is the point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. B is 5, 2. So I'm going to switch the coordinates. So I'm going to put 2 and 5. And I'm going to leave some space for my negatives if I need to put negatives. The x coordinate gets a negative, but the y coordinate stays positive. So the next point for B prime is negative 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right here. So this is my B prime. Alright, C is the point 2, 0. Alright, so I'm going to switch it to be my new C prime. Alright, and so it's going to be 0, 2. And the signs they put a negative on the x. Well, negative 0 is the same thing as 0, and leave the y positive. So 0, 2 is the new coordinate. Over 0 and up 1, 2. Okay, so this is C prime. Alright, see if I can get a decent looking triangle here. Alright, so there we go. You can see this is a rotation of this triangle 90 degrees counterclockwise into the second quadrant, right? So now let's look at this one down here. So I'm going to do another one with you because this one's different. It's rotating 180 degrees counterclockwise. So let's figure out what A is, what B is, and what C is. Okay, A is the point 1, 4 again, so that's the same. B is 2, 5, 5, 2. And then C is the point 2, 0 again. Alright, so now if we want to rotate it 180 degrees counterclockwise, that's going to take it to the quadrant we were in last time, and then a second time into this bottom left quadrant, the third quadrant, right? So in this quadrant, remember our signs. X's are negative, and Y's are also negative. So but everything's going to be negative in this quadrant. So we know that when we switch these before to get into this quadrant, right, we switched the X and Y. Okay, but now since we're going to be going another 90 degrees, we would be switching the X's and Y's again, right? So if we swap them and then swap them again, they're just going to be back to where they were the first time. So we're still going to have 1 and 4. Okay, this is a cool thing about 180 degrees is whenever you swap to 180 degrees, you don't have to swap the numbers, okay, whenever you rotate 180 degrees. You just have to worry about the signs because you're swapping to get here and then swapping back because you're rotating another 90. So these are all going to stay the same number. We don't have to swap them. We just need to worry about our signs. All we need to know is everything's going to be negative. So I'm going to put a negative on the X, negative on the Y, negative on the X, negative on the Y, negative on the X, and of course 0 doesn't need a negative. So our new shape is going to be the points negative 1, negative 4, maybe, there we go, and then negative 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 2, and then the point negative 2, 0. Okay, now negative 1, negative 4 is our A prime, actually A double prime, okay, because we wanted to label it A double prime, B double prime, C double prime, so there's 2 prime indicators right there. And then B is going to be the one that rotates all the way over here to negative 5, negative 2, so that's B double prime, and this one will be C double prime. Alright, so 180 degrees, the big difference with it is you don't have to swap the letters because you're essentially swapping them to get here and then swapping them back to get 180 degrees away. All right, so that's just the thing to remember. This is the big rule. Whenever you go 90 degrees, every 90 degrees you go, you need to switch your X and Y coordinates and then just check the signs in that quadrant. All right, so I'm going to let you guys try these three real quick, all right, and then we'll go over them. So I'm going to pause it. Good luck. Let me know if you have questions. I'll come by and help you. Quick, so just to move the point 3, -2, 90 degrees counterclockwise. Okay, so you're going to have a point down here. You're going to move it to this quadrant where everything's positive. So since you're going 90 degrees, you need to swap the X and Y. So we swap them, move the 2 here and the 3 here. And since it's in this quadrant now, everything's going to be positive. It's +2, +3 would be the new coordinate point. This one, you do 180 degrees. 180 degrees, you don't have to swap them because you swap them once here and then swap them back. So essentially you don't need to swap them because you're just swapping them twice. Alright, so when you do that though, 180 degrees counterclockwise, it gets you in this quadrant where your X's are positive, your Y's are negative. So you leave the numbers the same and your X is positive, your Y is negative. So 5, -4. And then this last one, you're going 90 degrees clockwise, okay, from the point 3, 2. So you need to identify on all these, where's the quadrant the points are all starting in. Okay, so this point starts in this quadrant. So 90 degrees clockwise is going this direction to where X's are positive, Y's are negative. Since it's 90 degrees, swap the numbers. So put the 2 in for X and 3 for Y. And your X's are positive, Y's negative. So your answer is 2, -3. Alright, so now this is essentially what you did on previous homework where you had to write the rule to describe the transformation. So these should be pretty simple. I'm going to do the first one and then pause and let you guys try the second one. So right here, I see that this all rotated into this quadrant. All right, so I'm going to say it was a 90 degree counterclockwise rotation. Or you could say it rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise. Either way is fine. But I know that it went clockwise in this direction, or sorry, counterclockwise like this against the way the clock would normally go, 90 degrees. So you guys go ahead and try number 2 over here. All right, number 2, hopefully you guys all got it. It was 180 degrees clockwise, or you could say 180 degrees counterclockwise. Either way is fine. Big thing is you make sure it's 180 degrees. Either one could work though. And when you're doing these, you know, we did these in your homework, but now you think about the points and you can see how it follows our rules, right? So this is the point, let's see, G is the point -3, 1. So since it's going 180 degrees, we wouldn't change those values. We would still have 3 and 1, but because it's over here in this quadrant, we would have to make the 3 positive and the 1 negative. So it'd be +3, -1. So you can kind of see how it still follows the rule that we've been practicing today. So let's do these couple right here. So we're going to graph the image of the figure using the transformation given. So they say rotate 180 degrees about the origin, which is what we've been doing. So we got to identify the coordinates and make the new transformation. So P is the point -1, -4. U is the point 2, 0. And then Q is the point 3, -2. Well, if we're going 180 degrees, okay, then we know we're not going to have to swap the numbers. We're just going to change the signs to whatever they are in this quadrant, which is the quadrant we'll be in. So in this quadrant, the X's are negative and the Y's are positive. So we're just going to say P prime is going to be the same numbers, 1 and 4, but our X's are negative and the Y's are positive. So it's -1, 4. U prime is going to be a -2, 0. Of course, we don't put a -1, 0 or anything. Of course, it's positive anyways. And then Q prime is going to be -3, +2. The values all stay the same, but we just change the sign. And then I'm going to let you guys practice number 6 real quick, so you have to try that one on your own. Okay, so we're going 90 degrees counterclockwise, which means we're going to be going from this quadrant up into this quadrant right here, where everything is positive. So positives and positives. So since I'm going 90 degrees, I'm going to swap all my numbers. 4, 1 becomes 1, 4. R is 5, negative 4, so it becomes 4, 5. And then 3, 0 becomes 0, 3. And in this quadrant, everything's positive, so I don't have to put negatives on anything. These would be my my new 3 points. I don't have a lot of space in here, but this one is U prime. This one would be R prime. And then this one is, sorry, I started to put Q. This one is X prime. All right. Okay, so that's pretty much it, but in case you want to challenge yourselves a little bit, I've got a couple of challenge problems here that you can try. So you can see this one, and then down here, B part, and I'll show you guys the answers to these, and C part. Okay, so if you want to attempt those, you know, if you feel like this is real easy and you want to just challenge yourselves, I'll let you try those, and I'll show you the answers to those real quick, all right? So right here you had to do a combination. You had to do a rotation and then reflect. Okay, so it was like 2 transformations in one. So first you had to rotate the triangle RST to the bottom quadrant, and that's what I did right here. So since it was 90 degrees, I swapped the numbers, and of course since it's in this quadrant, everything is negative. So all my numbers have negatives, so that gave me R prime, S prime, T prime. But then they wanted to reflect it on the x-axis. So I had to draw my reflecting line across the x-axis and then reflect all the points. S prime was 2 away, so I made S double prime 2 away on the top side. R prime was 4 away, so R double prime is 4 away this way, and then T prime was 3 away, so it was 3 away this way to give me R double prime, S double prime, T double prime. This is my answer for part A. Let's look at B part. So this is the exact same transformations, just in different order. Instead of doing the rotation first and then the reflection, this one says to reflect it first on the x-axis and then rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise. So first I had to reflect it across the x-axis. So T would reflect 1 away, so it'd be T prime right here. S is 3 away, so it'd be 3 away down here. And then R is 4 away from the x-axis where they're reflecting from, so it would be 4 down here. So this is R prime, S prime, T prime. And then if I'm going 90 counterclockwise, I would go this direction to this quadrant. Since it's 90 degrees, I'll need to swap all my numbers, which I did. And in this quadrant, the x's are positive and the y's are negative. So all my x's have positive signs and all the y's have negative signs. All right, so once I found these points, I graphed those points, R prime, or R double prime, S double prime, T double prime, to get this triangle. All right, so then the C part said, are the final images in parts A and B the same? Why or why not? And our answer, of course, is no, they're not the same. You can tell that part A has the final image in quadrant 2, right? Our final image was up here in quadrant 2, but in B part, the final image was down here in quadrant 4. So they're definitely not the same image. They don't even really look the same as far as the shape of the triangle. So a couple of challenge problems there for those of you that would like a challenge in there. Appreciate your all's time watching the video. Good luck practicing. Let me know if you have any questions. Love y'all.